Hello there, Ray here. We just did a bunch of testing to do with the new Warden as well as the deep dark biomes. In this video, we'll be answering all your different questions to do with the Warden, all the Sculk blocks as well as the reinforced one, and the Swift Sneak boots. Make sure you follow me over at Twitch so don't miss these testing with the viewer streams. Now leave a like on the video and let's get into all the weird things we discovered. So the Warden is an undead mob, meaning that it will take more damage from smite. So it currently has 500 health, and let's see how many hits it takes to kill it. It took about 25 hits to kill it with a smite 5 sword that also has fire aspect. You did see the Warden did take fire damage, so it's not immune to fire like withers are. Because the Warden is also undead, that means it does take damage from healing potions, and it also gets healed by damage potions just like undead mobs. So killing a Warden gives us about 3/4 of one level. Now despite the Warden being an undead mob, they don't actually burn in the daylight like other undead mobs. Now some exceptions are like the wither, which is a boss, so maybe this guy is considered a boss and that's why he doesn't burn. So now we're in the nether, and we set off the Shrieker, and there's a Warden! So he can be summoned into other dimensions. Okay, Shrieker in the end dimension. Make it go off. Oh, there he is. He kind of appears, and then he spawns. Might be a visual bug. Okay, so we got a Shrieker in the middle of nowhere. It went off, but I don't see any Warden. We just got a couple blocks here and we actually got the Warden to spawn in. So if the Wardens are far enough away from each other, we're a little over 25 blocks away from the guy over there, then another Warden will be able to be summoned in. The Warden's able to spawn in a box that's 11 by 11, 13 blocks tall, centered on the Shrieker. Okay, so I got a whole bunch of hearts, and we'll let the Warden get mad at me and hit me one time. So it can do 45 damage with a single hit if you're not wearing any armor on. That's insane. So that's like more than double the player's normal hearts. So giving the Warden poison doesn't seem to do anything. It looks like he is actually immune to that. The Warden will attack any mob that it senses. So this Warden here got mad and now he's just attacking this Enderman. He just easily kills it too. So they don't just get mad at players. Pretty much any mob they'll get mad at if it's walking around causing vibrations. Oh my goodness, these Wardens are trying to chase after this bat here. It's so funny. Poor bat. So it looks like it can even spawn on a single layer of blocks, which is pretty crazy. Let's try glass. So it doesn't seem that they'll spawn on non-solid blocks like glass. So we got a bunch of minecarts in there. Let's see if he takes entity cramming damage. And it appears he does. This Iron Golem is trying to hit this Warden before it even really gets summoned in. The Iron Golem has like no chance against them. It just immediately gets destroyed. Iron Golems versus Warden. Iron Golem is definitely gonna lose. They're dying right and left. Okay, we summoned in a dragon. Let's put a bunch of Wardens down here and see if we can get it to attack them. All these Wardens are mad at the dragon, but they can't get to it. Here comes the dragon down. The Wardens want to kill it, but they can't. They just get pushed far away. They're trying to get close to it. Oh man, they look so funny. It looks like some kind of like robots chasing after the dragon. We got Zoglin. A Zoglin attacks the Warden. Definitely not a fair fight. Warden wins. The Warden definitely gets mad at the zombified pigman. Oh, but he one-hits them, so it does make the other ones mad. Oh, that's pretty cool. Oh, there he goes. Oh my goodness. Oh, and then he killed it by the Sculk catalyst, so that it created more. That's kind of interesting. So Warden itself can actually expand the corruption just by killing mobs that spawn by it. The mobs would spawn, and then they would make vibrations near the Shrieker. And that would cause Wardens to spawn. I guess it wouldn't happen in areas that weren't loaded, but if you have something that's loaded, over time, the whole place is going to be full of Sculk stuff. Now because no mobs can spawn here in the deep dark biome other than the Warden, it does make a nice place to go mining for ores, as long as you can avoid the Shriekers. But because of this, mobs also won't naturally spawn here to constantly reactivate the Shrieker unless they come in from a nearby biome. So let's throw invisibility potion onto one of these guys. Oh, they are completely invisible. You can't see anything of them. That's so scary. Okay, let's hit him with a spectre arrow. Oh, nice. He does glow. Now we can make him invisible. Now he's extra scary. So we got a Wither and we got a Warden. So it does appear that the Warden is considered an undead mob because the Wither is not attacking it. But the Warden can actually see the vibrations from the Wither. So the Warden actually will try to attack the Wither. It doesn't seem that it's able to get the right angle on it to actually do any damage. But it's definitely trying. withering effect does apply to the Warden. Wardens are very strong. It looks like they completely avoid knockback damage. Warden can still detect vibrations underneath the water. He's trying to chase after some squid, it looked like. Oh, look at the Warden. He got mad at one of these water creatures. It doesn't appear that he drowns either, which is interesting. Looks like the Warden doesn't attack you when you're invisible if you stand still. Okay, we'll spectate the Warden as he falls. So he lost 380 blocks from falling from the top world to the bottom world. He still got 120 health left, so they're pretty resistant to fall damage, but they're not completely immune of it. Look at this Warden here. He's digging into the bedrock. He's trying to escape into the void. If we put a Warden down here and we go up really high in the air and we fall back down again, the Warden appears to despawn, so it must be kind of considered like a hostile mob that can despawn, unlike the bosses, which don't despawn. So the Warden only digs back into the ground if he's not busy, so we just made the Warden constantly stay active. He never actually digs or despawns because he's constantly being hit by this snow golem over here, which is mad at him because he is a hostile mob. We got a Warden with a name tag. We'll see if it despawns if we go way up in the air, and we're gonna fall back down again. He's hostile mob. He should have normally despawned, but yeah, the name tag prevents them from doing that. So combining this with the snow golem, you should be able to make a pet wither. Now, because the Warden has to be constantly busy, he doesn't work very well as like a guard to protect your base, because if he's not trying to go after something, then he would just go back into the ground. But you could end up placing in some shriekers around your base and kind of use it as a trap to keep your area guarded from other players. Warden going after a creeper. He's mad. Sniffing it out. Oh yeah, now he's charging. And he just one-hits it. Now the Warden does get pushed by water, so this might be a good strategy to keep him away from you, since he can't, get to you when you're in the water. Uh-oh. Warden's mad at the Ravager. Can't one-hit it, but he four-hit it. So this Warden here is trying to attack an invulnerable creeper, and you can see it just keeps doing its attack animation, but it never actually charges or even swings at it. Oh, the Warden's mad at this creeper. Oh, it actually will blow up on it. That is pretty crazy. We had to give the creeper a whole bunch of health in order just to test that. So in the player data, there is special information to relate to the Shrieker. There's stuff like Shrieker cooldown ticks. We also got warning count, ticks since the last warning. This keeps track of how many times you've activated a Shrieker. So if I activate the Shrieker one time, let's jump on top of it. And if we check our data, we can see the Shrieker cooldown ticks has reset. The warning count got set to 1. And the ticks since the last warning also got reset. So let's activate it so we get a count of 3. So now we are a count of 3. Warning count 3. So now if we activate the Shrieker, it should produce a Warden. Oh my goodness. This one's in the wall. What is he doing in the wall? Oh no. But yeah, and then it produces a Warden nearby. So despite the darkness effect being a actual new effect that you can get in survival, if you give yourself the typical old effects, you can actually get the how do we get here advancement without even needing the darkness effect. So let's see if the Warden can go through the end portal. A lot of bosses can't, but this one, it looks like it did. Yep, ended up over here. And wow, this place has really been corrupted over. Let's also send one into the nether dimension. And yeah, they make it. They look like mutants. So it doesn't appear that you can pick these guys up in a boat, probably because they're considered like a boss. And it doesn't appear you can pick them up with a minecart either. The Warden isn't immune to powder snow, so it does freeze. Now if it is dark out, it's possible to summon in a Warden on the surface of the world. Now because the Warden needs to be able to spawn in when it's dark, it's possible to actually put down enough light that he doesn't spawn. But it's going to take a lot and you have to cover a big area. So you can contain the Warden just by using rails. He doesn't want to cross them similar to like zombies. So he's completely contained inside of here. Now he's really mad. But he still won't leave his area. You can also use the splash potion of Turtle Master to really slow down the Warden. So even if he is mad, he moves really slow because it gives him a slowness 6. Oh no! No! Now I did make a really simple witch farm using hoglins in order to knock the witches off the platform while still allowing them not to be killed by the witches, because hoglins are undead, so they're immune to damage potions, as well as poison, and so is a Warden since he's also undead. But he wouldn't make very good for a witch farm. For one thing, he is 3 blocks tall, so he wouldn't really fit in there efficiently. And he can bury himself back into the ground when he's not being used, so he can essentially despawn, which you don't want to happen. What in the world? Look at the Warden coming out of this trapdoor. He almost looks like a cookie monster eating it up. So with the Swift Sneak boots, they're also really nice for bridging because you can essentially be crouching so you don't have to worry about falling off, but you can also move at the same speed as if you are just walking without crouching down. And if you point at the right spot, you can really cruise across. Having these boots on doesn't actually help you with shields or with bows. You still move really slowly. And with the speed 2 potion, you can really cruise just by being crouched. The guys gave me a Swift Sneak 255 and holy muggers, this is like ultimate sprinting. Seems that as soon as you go sprinting and then go back into crouching mode, you will be sprinting and crouching. First, if you go crouching first and then try to sprint, the player doesn't actually go any faster. Oh my goodness, look at this Warden. It's trying to attack something and it's zipping right past it. It can't even hit it. The Swift Sneak book does come from the loot of the ancient cities, and here's some of the other loot that you also can get from the chest. You can see we get the Sculk blocks, the sensors, the catalyst, we also get snowballs, health 2, candles, bones, books, also enchantments. It seems like pretty much every enchantment including the Swift Sneak. And there's also name tags in here. Also in these little rooms where there's a chest, you can sometimes find skeleton skulls hidden in here, but it's quite rare. That means it's possible to get these without using a charge creeper. So there's a total of 3 different heads you can get without using a charge creeper. Now these new reinforced Deepslate blocks can actually be pushed by pistons. This might be a bug in this snapshot because we had the same thing occur with Prime Obsidian. It was able to be moved back and forth with pistons, but it was later changed so it couldn't be moved. Now if you try to mine this block, it's extremely hard, but you can see we're actually making progress. There's 2 little pixels that are dark in the center, so it does take quite a while, but you can eventually break this block. Let's give ourselves haste 255, which isn't possible survival, but let's just see how fast we can actually mine this up. So even with a efficiency 5 netherite pickaxe and haste 255, it still looks like it's going to take us a long time to mine this. And blowing up these doesn't do anything. Mobs inside of it do suffocate, so it is solid, and redstone power can go through it. Now the reinforced Deepslate blocks don't actually have any information inside of the block, but the same actually goes for the end portal frames. So there could be some way that we have to light this portal. The portal itself is actually 22 blocks by 8 blocks. So almost like a max size nether portal. The block itself has a different texture on the top from the bottom. Here there's kind of like a square area, similar to like an end portal frame, where underneath it is just completely bland. Now the whole portal itself is inside of this kind of larger Deepslate area, but there is these kind of like handles or like ears that are on either side. And there's this like kind of walk up step that takes you kind of closer to it, but these steps are quite massive. It's not like the player would walk up these. Something can hop up at least 2 blocks at a time. This shape kind of resembles the Warden with the big gaping mouth and kind of the loopy ears. Now since you can move these blocks, you can actually put them into the shape of a wither cage, and the wither can actually break these blocks, which is different than like obsidian, and typically the only blocks that can't be broken are like the end portal frames or bedrock. So this would be pretty big if you can actually move these, and you can also have withers not break them. You can make wither cages, but it would be quite a bit of work to move them. Now in the beginning, ancient debris also had this property of being able to hold withers, but it was later changed, so this might change. Now since these blocks can be moved by pistons and they can also contain a wither, you could actually make a movable wither cage. If you guys seen in the past, I made a movable wither cage about 5 years ago, and it wasn't easy, but with this, it would be possible to make it much easier. King B-Dugs did put out a tweet saying that the reinforced Deepslate being movable was not intended, so this feature might be removed. Now typically blue wither skulls can destroy hard stuff like obsidian or ancient debris, but it doesn't destroy the reinforced Deepslate. It doesn't seem like the dragon actually breaks those frame blocks, so they're probably considered like a really special block that's not supposed to be accidentally broken, because the dragon has to specially be programmed in order not to break these blocks. And if we actually look at it with F3 on the right hand side, it says dragon immune. It also says features can't be replaced, so it can't be destroyed. Also same thing for stone replacing it in lava pools, and it's also immune to the wither. We get ourselves 255 haste as well as efficiency 255 pickaxe. And I went ahead and also put Silk Touch on it. Let's go ahead and see if we can mine up this block. So I actually destroyed it, and you can see it doesn't drop you any item. Some of you guys thought that this big portal maybe takes you to other end cities when lit. Or this is the location where the Warden actually comes from. It's like its homeland. And the corruption seeped out of this portal and ended up in this deep dark biome. Now if we think about how the game makes you kind of traverse the different dimensions, the player starts here in the overworld, then you go into the nether dimension and you go into a fortress in order to get blaze rods. And those are used to get to the stronghold and get into the entrance end pearl to get into the end dimension. Now in the past you could use Eyes of Ender from villager trading in order to get into the end dimension without going through the nether, but they changed that and forced players to go into the nether in order to get to the end dimension and kill the dragon. Now with this big huge portal, maybe in order to open it up, you have to collect something in the end dimension in order to get into this new dimension. That way you're kind of forced to go through all the dimensions before going into the next one. You can't just take like a shortcut. So maybe you have to like fill every single one of these slots in with like a dragon head in order to like open this portal, something that can only be obtained in the end dimension. Now during the Minecraft live trailer for 2021, they did mention the number 4 a lot, which made us think that there's going to be a 4th dimension. Also here in the actual ancient city, right in front of the big portal, there is 4 of these stands that have redstone lamps on it that can be activated as you walk near them. So maybe this is another reference to a 4th dimension. Let's take a look at the different Sculk blocks in more detail. So the vein here, we look on the right hand side with the F3 pulled up, you can see it could be like waterlogged all different directions. It's used for sound. It's also mineable with a hoe. If we look at the actual Sculk blocks, you can see it has a special tag which lets it skip the vibrations that come off of it. Any blocks are placed on top of it. It's also mineable by hoe. Sculk sensor, you can see it tells what power it is, if it's activated or not, if it's waterlogged, as well as if it's mineable. The Shrieker also has a shrieking false or true, as well as mineable with a hoe. The catalyst has it showing if it's blooming or not, as well as it's mineable with hose. We can see we can actually run redstone into it, turn it on, and this will activate the Shrieker. We can actually get the Warden to summon by using redstone. That's probably why it's in the redstone tab here. Even killing a Warden near a catalyst will also extend the Sculk blocks. When the Shrieker activates, you can see it doesn't actually put up any redstone, but it can be detected by an observer. So summon a Ravager and we'll kill it, and you can see kind of how much it spreads just with a single mob. So you can see something like a pig, which doesn't have very many XPs, doesn't produce as much as something that has a lot of XPs. The Dragon Dying doesn't actually look like it converts over any of the blocks into Sculk blocks. You can see the Wither when it dies actually produces quite a bit. You can see how far the charges actually go based off of the XPs we would have got from it. The guys killed a bunch of creepers here in the center, and you can see the spread actually went really far. It went all the way over here. Let's test the other blocks. We got this Sculk block is solid. These 2 blocks are non-opaque. These 2 blocks are solid blocks, so they can be used for redstone. Of course, the Sculk sensor can be used to detect different vibrations, and redstone signal can leave it. Now let's try moving these blocks. You can see that we're not able to move these 3 blocks, but we are able to move the Sculk block, but the vein itself breaks off. Now you can't place cactus besides any of these blocks, but you can place it beside the vein. So if you put a vein beside a cactus, it actually breaks it off, where a lichen doesn't. You can see they can actually blow up the reinforced block when it's being moved as block 36. So some of these blocks can be waterlogged, like the sensor as well as the vein, which does mean the veins itself can actually hold back water. So when it spreads, all these layers here actually prevent water from occupying those blocks. None of these blocks will go inside of a furnace or can go inside a composter. So most of these blocks don't put off a light level. The Sculk sensor itself puts off a light level of 0 when it's on or off, but the catalyst block actually puts a light level of 5 all the time. Let's see what happens when we blow up these blocks so they don't drop any XPs or items. Let's try the Shrieker. Same deal. Let's try Sculk sensor. Looks like the same thing. Veins, also nothing. Now let's do the Sculk blocks. So it don't look like we actually get any XP. The blocks are blown up. This is different than a Bedrock edition where we got XPs. We could actually use TNT dupers in order to break down the blocks. Instead you'll have to break them by player means. Both the Sculk sensor as well as the Shrieker are half a block tall collision wise, even though the Shrieker appears to be a full block when looked at. It's pretty crazy to watch all these mobs die and all the charges move across and eventually find somewhere where they can convert. Now since a catalyst cannot be moved with pistons, you can't make like a fly machine or quarry that moves this along and kills mobs and converts blocks, though that would be pretty cool. The hardness of the Sculk is 0.6, similar to dirt. The Vane is 0.2, similar to Vines. The Catalyst as well as the Shrieker are 3, same as Endstone. The Catalyst drops 20 XP, and the Sculk Sensor drops 1. Reinforced Deepslate has a hardness of 55, which is a little bit higher than Obsidian, and has a blast resistance of 1200, the same as Obsidian. The way the Sculk spreads is if there is a live entity that dies within 8 blocks of the Catalyst, it will then check to see if that mob would have dropped XPs if it was killed by player means. Those XPs are then sent in as a charge, which are these little bubbles. The charges then see if the block underneath of them can be converted into a Sculk block. If it can, then it does that right away. Otherwise, if it's already a Sculk, then the charges will move out randomly until they find a block that they can switch over. It will then try to convert it into veins, and if there's already veins there, then it will convert it into a Sculk block, and the veins on top are removed. If those fail, then it will try to spread. Now the veins are only placed in if there is water or air there. But the veins themselves can't spread to some blocks like Sculk blocks, Sculk catalysts, lava, or flowing water, as well as block 36. But the veins can replace some weird blocks such as structure air, replaceable plant like this guy, replaceable fireproof plants, as well as replaceable water plants, bubble columns, lava, top snow, as well as fire. If the mob dies on block that cannot be converted, it will just put the veins on top and then continue moving on. Now when it comes to putting in a Sculk sensor or a Shrieker, the position that the charge is at has to be a Sculk block. It also has to be at least 4 blocks away from the catalyst that started it. The blocks above it must be air or water, and there must be less than 2 Sculk sensors or Shriekers within a 9x9 3-block tall area around it. Now once these conditions are met, there's a 10% chance that it will continue with the placement of these blocks. But then the next step is that the charge that comes to this area has to be greater than a random number between 0 and 9. Then there is a 90% chance that it'll produce a Sculk sensor and only a 10% chance of placing a Shrieker. Now when it comes to this 10% chance, it will immediately remove 10 charges from the bubble charge. Now when it comes to how the charge decays over distance and time, it's a little bit complicated, but there's only a 2% chance that the charge will decay. And this is the formula in which it uses, but when the charge gets out more than 24 blocks away from the catalyst, the charge gets cut in half, meaning that you're not getting your money's worth of XP being converted into Sculk blocks. Thanks to TizAwesome for looking in the Minecraft code to see exactly how this works. So each Sculk block, when broken, will produce 1 XP. For every 1 XP that it drops, like a chicken can drop between 1 and 3, means it will place down between 1 and 3 Sculk blocks. So you can see we got 2 here, this chicken dropped 3, we got 1, 2, 3. So whatever XPs it has, it just converts it into the Sculk blocks. So a mob like the Ravager will produce 20 XPs when you kill it and collect them, which means when you kill it near the catalyst, it produces 20 Sculk blocks. The catalyst only works on living mobs. That means stuff like armor stands, boats, and carts that don't actually drop any XP, don't actually produce any Sculk. Also, mobs that don't produce XP, like villagers, won't actually produce Sculk. So we didn't get the Ender Dragon to work with the catalyst, but let's try a player dying, since a player can actually drop as much as 100 XP. Do /kill, and oh, look at the bubbles go. Oh yeah, looks like they're placing down quite a few of these Sculk blocks. We'll have to actually count them up to see if it's equivalent to 100. So I actually mined them all up, and it looks like we got pretty close to 100 Sculk blocks. If you have a whole bunch on the player and you don't want to actually lose it, maybe you're doing something risky, you could come in and purposely kill yourself near a catalyst and just have it all converted into Sculk, and then you can always come back and mine it up for the XPs. But remember, you only get as much as 7 experience per level that you have, up to 100. So you at least get something instead of nothing. But you definitely don't get your full amount. The blocks that the catalyst can convert into Sculk blocks includes stone, granite, diorite, andesite, tuff, deepslate, dirt, grass block, puzzle, coarse dirt, mycelium, rooted dirt, moss block, terracotta, including all the different types of colors, sand, red sand, gravel, soul sand, soul soil, calcite, smooth basalt, clay, dripstone. Also converts netherrack as well as crimsonilion, warpnilion, basalt, and blackstone. Now there is a limit to how many charges can be going on at one time, which is 32 around a catalyst. Any more than that, it'll just get removed and we'll ignore it. You can kind of force the Skulks and Shriekers to be spawned in by keeping the charges kind of contained into a small area where they can't spread, and they just keep going over top of the area, giving that small chance of being able to switch over into a Shrieker or a Sculk sensor until they max out the complete number of them. Oh my goodness, here comes the Warden. Watch them all fall and just instantly convert a bunch of it. Now come join my live stream over at Twitch with the link down below, where we will be building some new farms for 1.19. I do stream every Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time for about 2 hours. And you guys are able to see how I design everything that ends up in my YouTube videos. I'm really having a lot of fun with 1.19. I hope you guys are as well. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye!